Good morning, guys. Thursday morning here at the shop. Time is about 10:30. In this video, I'm going to be showing you everything that we do, taking you through step by step on how we make a screen print transfer. If you guys have been on the channel for a while, you know that we use these DTF printers to print full color DTF transfers all of the time here, but we also do offer custom screen print transfers. And the main difference between what you guys see here, a DTF transfer full color, and what a custom screen print transfer is that for screen printing, those are typically going to be limited to 1 to 3 color designs, and they're going to be printed with plastisol ink versus what you guys see over there. Those are going to use CMYK water-based inks, and they are printed obviously digitally using a printer. However, screen print transfers are printed manually, or we do have an automatic screen printing press, but they are printed basically by hand. Each transfer is made with love and care, so that's why you guys will typically see those minimums associated with screen print transfers. But I want to take you guys through every single step that we do to prepare the design, print the transparency, burn the screen, bring the screen over, get it all set up, everything like that. So if you guys are interested, make sure you stick around. If you guys are new here, this is the first video that you've checked out. First off, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Alex. I am the owner of AMS Transfers. We are a custom screen print and custom DTF transfer located in Houston, Texas. So before we all get started, I kind of want to just talk about a little bit what is what. So this is what I'm showing you right now is a full, let me see if I can get there we go, a little bit better. This is a full color DTF transfer. I know this design is only one color, but there's some more other different colors down there. And the big telltale sign that this is a DTF transfer, but it's not the only way you can tell, is that it's going to be printed on this clear film. Another surefire way that you can tell a DTF transfer compared to something else, because there are such thing as digital screen print transfers that also are printed on a PET film. But the thing is, if you guys can make it out there, right here on the back, you can kind of tell it has like a texture to it. And what we refer to this in the industry is the orange peel texture. So if whatever you see on the back of your transfers, you're getting that orange peel look, that orange peel feel, that is one sure way to tell that you are dealing with the DTF transfer. And now switching gears to a screen print transfer. I know this probably isn't the best design to really show it, but on this, it's going to have a lot more of like a rough texture. I like to say that it's similar to like the feel of sandpaper or like the tongue on a cat, whatever. It's going to feel a lot more rough and kind of gritty on your hand versus nice and soft and smooth like the DTF transfers. That's one easy way to tell the difference between a screen print plastisol transfer and a DTF transfer. But another one is going to be the actual like substrate that it's printed on. So as you guys can see here, this is going to be printed on a white paper. Most screen print transfers that we've seen, even from competitors, are going to be coming on a white or blue paper. That is, if they are not that digital screen print like I was talking about a little bit earlier. But I have talked about all of this before, kind of laying out the differences between what the difference actually is between a DTF digital screen print transfer and plastisol screen print transfer. So if you guys are interested in that, you want to learn a little bit more into the ins and outs of each different transfer type, I'll put a link up in the corner to check out that video. I went over all of the things, each of the characteristics, each of the attributes, when to choose each different transfer type in that video, so make sure you check it out in that corner. But all right, I think we've done enough explaining, enough lollygagging. Let's get into actually making a screen print transfer. All right, so here we go. We are in Photoshop. I loaded in the customer design. The customer thankfully sent me a PDF. So this file is all good to go. It is high enough quality that we can use it without making any alterations or modifications. So I have my registration template open up here in another tab in Photoshop. So I'm just gonna drag the artwork over to that. And now I do have some other artwork on the template from before. So just go ahead and delete that. And now I have to resize the actual design to the specifications that the customer needs. So 12 inches wide. And now I'm just going to use the alignment tools on Photoshop to kind of position it exactly where I want it on the sheet with regards to the registration marks on the top and bottom. And honestly, that looks pretty good. And since we are doing this for transfers, obviously we would need to flip it so that when you actually go to press it onto the t-shirt, it's in the flipped orientation, or mirrored is another word for it. So we're just going to come over here to adjustments and do flip horizontally, and that's that button right there. And after we click that, flips the design horizontally or mirrors it, which is exactly what we need to actually make a transfer from this design. So without any other anything else to do, we just come on over to the print option in Photoshop and get that printed. We use an Epson 8550 to print all of our film transparencies, and I'll show you that in a couple seconds here. But right now we have it set up to 13 by 19, I'm sorry. And here are just a snapshot of the print settings that we use to actually print the transparencies, if it'll focus. So hopefully these will help you guys if any of you are struggling with getting really dark prints on your transparencies. But let's go ahead and get this printed, and then we'll head on over to the printer and see it come out on the transparency film. All right, I'm not sure if I actually mentioned it at the beginning of this video, but we have 3 screen printing orders that we have to get printed today. One that I just showed you, plus another one that I think might have just finished up, and then another one that we also have to get printed. And all of these have to be burned. All of these still have to be printed. But here's another one. For this one, we're going to have to cut out some of the designs because we kind of ganged them all up to try and make the most use of the press and the sheets. So once we're all finished with the order, we're going to get all of those cut up according to what the customer ordered and get that all situated. So we're still waiting on that design that I just showed you to print, so we'll give that a little bit longer, and then we'll get started burning our screens. Alright guys, so I got the transparency printed, and what this does is it is basically a negative of the design. So we printed on this clear transparency, and it is basically an all black copy of the design. And we do all black because we need to make sure that no light from the exposure unit, which we are about to start using, passes through any of the parts of the design. So basically any part where you see black, no light is going to get past that. And then any part that obviously is not printed or black, light's going to go ahead and travel through that and harden the screen. So the whole point of the black is to not harden the screen wherever we want to have design elements. And then when we go ahead and wash out the screen, any part that's not hardened will go ahead and get washed away. And then at the end, we'll be left with a beautiful stencil. So that kind of leads me into my next thing, is there are different meshes for the screens. So like I said, we have 3 orders to do today, and this one is by far the one with the most detail, the most fine lettering, fine elements, whatever you want to call it. And basically the way you decide which mesh to use for the screen is by looking at the design, seeing how much fine, small little elements you have in the design. If you have something like this one here, where it's just big blocks of text, or something even like this, again, just large pieces of text, whatever it is, you can definitely get away with using lower mesh screens like a 110, a 156, or something like that. However, for something like this, where there is just a lot of detail that we need to preserve, we're going to want to go up on the mesh. And the higher the mesh, the more detail that you can get out of the actual image. So for this one, really taking a close look at it, I think that we would be best off going for at least a 156. I mean, look at the elements in this guy's teeth right there. So preserving things like that, preserving those little details in the flower here, things like that are going to be challenging, which is why I'm going to use a higher mesh. Looking at it a little bit further, I'm actually kind of worried that 156 isn't enough, and that means that the next step up would be 195, but I don't have any automatic sizes ready to go for 195. So I'm going to give it a try on 156, see what we got from there. From this one, I can definitely get away with 110, and this one too, 110. So we'll be using a 110 mesh, 110 mesh, and then starting with a 156 and just praying that it works. If not, I'm going to have to reclaim a screen, and that'll push our day back a little bit. So, okay. Hopefully you guys understood that. I know that that's kind of a lot. It's really not that important unless you guys are going to be like actually burning your screens, but it is something that I just wanted to mention. So Here we have our screens ready to be burned. They're already coated here with the emulsion, and the emulsion has to dry before we can actually start burning them, so that's why we leave them sitting in this cabinet overnight. And then when we come in the next morning, the screens are all dry and ready to be burned. So let's go ahead and start with that design that I showed you. Grab a 156, and this is, I can't even fit it in the screen because it's so large, but this is an automatic size screen and it's ready to go. So let me go ahead and set up the camera somewhere and I'll show you guys what we got going on. All right, so for what we do to actually get our transparencies perfectly aligned to the screens, I actually got this trick from one of our employees all the way back then, and he taught me to basically just put these a transparency with lines, like guide lines, onto the exposure unit, and then align all of the actual design transparencies like this one to that one. And that way we can just make sure that the designs, or should I say the transparencies, are always going on the exact same place on the screen, and that'll just save us a little bit of headache later on down the road when we transfer the screen to the automatic and get working for the day. So that's what I'm doing right here. I'm just using the registration marks on the actual transparency that I just printed and aligning that to my template. Now I'm going to grab this screen, and then I'm not sure if you're going to be able to tell by the camera angle that I have, but I have these guides here set up on the exposure unit, and these guides allow me to quickly and easily just place the screen onto the exposure unit, making sure that we get that design perfectly aligned onto the screen exactly where we want it. Another thing that I think I just did without even showing you is I attached some heat resistant tape to the back side of the screen. So I did it so that the sticky side is facing up, and that way when I come down with the screen like I just did, the sticky side touches the screen and I can just press it down like you see me doing here and make sure that that transparency is evenly applied to the screen. Here, I'll grab the camera and show you guys. So this is what I was talking about, these pieces of tape. I'm just kind of pushing it down, making sure that it's nice and stuck. And you can see the alignment guides that I was talking about and the registration marks, how they are perfectly aligned onto the guides. So now I'm going to take this block of foam and just put it into the screen where the design goes. And what this kind of does is, one, just acts as like a little bit of a buffer to make sure that the screen is perfectly pressed flush against the glass. And then two, it also makes it so that you don't have to worry about any reflections coming up through the design. So say there was a reflection coming up at a weird angle and then it bounced and then hit a part of the emulsion where you didn't want. This emulsion is photosensitive. So basically what that means is whenever you expose this to any sort of UV light, it's going to start to harden. So that's why it's not that big of a deal in here now with the lights that we have. There's not that much UV light coming off of them, so we can kind of work quickly and we don't need a dark room. But if we were to just leave this here uncovered, the emulsion would harden over the course of a couple of hours. So we put this foam in there to reduce the reflections coming up from the exposure unit. Now I'm going to go ahead and set this into the exposure unit, turn on the timer. Here we have a list of times for the different meshes that we have on the screens, and we'll go ahead and watch the timer here, take the screen out when it's done. This is all really hard to do with one hand. As you can see, the transparency is like about to fall off of the screen, so I'm going to go ahead and set the camera back down and then put this in the exposure unit. All right, and there you saw I was just able to lock down the exposure unit. Now I'm going to take this cheap timer that we got off of Amazon, get it started, and then turn on the exposure unit. So this is a 156, and like I showed you, the thing on the exposure unit says that we should be doing this for 20 seconds. So we'll let it run for 8 more seconds, and then take it out and start washing it. This is definitely the largest part of, kind of the most important, I should say, of burning screens. Getting your screen prepared, everything to do like that, just because this part is where a lot of your problems can come from. So you want to make sure that you're just taking the time to do it right. That's it though, the screen is all burned. I took the transparency off, and now I brought the screen over to the washout booth. First things, you just want to wet the ink side, and the way that you can tell the ink side of the screen is it is indented. So the side that is inside of the frame, that's the ink side, and then where it's nice and flush on the back, that's going to be the shirt side. So we'll wet down the ink side. Just get it wet, and now we'll do the same thing for the back. With both sides wetted, we can now just start to wash out the screen, and you just kind of hit it with water until everything starts to wash out. You want to make sure that you're like a decent amount away from the screen with the nozzle, because the water pressure can sometimes be high enough where you might lose some of the fine detail in the actual stencil. So let's just and there we go. I'm gonna have to check it. I'll hold the screen up to the light just to make sure that I got everything out, but from right now, this perspective, it looks good. I like to use the flat setting on the hose, and I do actually like using a hose for washing it out rather than the pressure washer. I know some people like to use the pressure washer, but I just find the hose works pretty well, and I use the flat setting on the actual nozzle. So let's go ahead, hold this up to the light, see what we're working with. All right, so holding it up to the light, I can see that there is some detail that is just not washed out yet. So I'm going to kind of switch up the angle that I'm holding the nozzle at and just try and hit it again, see if that gets rid of any of these things. They're really small, so I think this will work. All right, just that is probably going to be enough. And oh man, there's just one part on this design that's still not coming out. This is like where it really would be beneficial to use a higher mesh. All right, so the screen is soaking wet right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the air compressor and then just blow off any of this excess water, get all of the water out from the design area, and then just put the screen in front of a fan to let it fully dry. Just got all of the water off of the screen with the air compressor, and then just set it up in front of this fan right here. Let it dry for maybe 15 minutes and then see what we're working with. While that is drying though, I'm gonna knock out these two other designs right here, get them burned, start getting them drying so we can start working on getting these orders printed today. What time is it? 11:13. Hopefully the coffee that I started is done brewing. I can go get a cup because it's already 11 o'clock and I haven't had a cup of coffee yet. It's gonna be one of those days, I think. So thanks for watching, guys. If you're still here, sticking around, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Give this video a like. Again, I try and do videos like this where I just help you guys learn more about heat transfers, making your own t-shirts, starting your own DTF business, starting your own heat transfer business, whatever it is. That's my goal here. I'm trying to grow the community here. So if you would like to be a part of this community and help me reach the goals that I have, I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers on this YouTube channel by the end of the year, and every one of your subscriptions really matters. So if you guys do have the time, you're interested in this type of content, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button and leave the video a like. All right, guys, screen is all dry. Press is ready to go. I now have to just get this screen loaded up onto the press, put the squeegee and flood bar on, and then ink up, and we'll be able to do our test print. On this design, it's going to be a sky blue color, so I gotta go see if we have that or if we should make it, and we'll get to it. So get the screen loaded up, put the squeegee and flood bar on, let's do it. All right, got the screen all loaded up, inked up, squeegee on, flood bar on. We are good to get going here. I have to still do my test print, and then I also have to tape off these registration marks. So I'm going to get some paper and then tape those registration marks off, and we'll get our test print done. Right, got the sheets. The screen is taped off for both of the registration marks. Only thing left to do is get this test print all done and see what we're working with. I am going to be able to use the smaller sheets. These are 12.5 by 12.5 because the design is only 10 inches wide, so we'll be able to save a little bit of money using those smaller sheets. But on those two other designs over there, those are quite large, so we're definitely going to have to use the 15-inch sheets on those. But anyways, yeah, let's go ahead and get this started. If you guys are interested, this is called a high release double coated transfer paper. So the high release means that you'll be getting nearly 100% of the ink releasing from the sheet, and then obviously double coated, you can print either side. That's actually pretty helpful for us because sometimes the sheets develop a wave, and if we just can flip the sheet over and print the other side, we might be able to make that wave not affect the print. Otherwise, it can affect the print pretty negatively. So sheets just develop a wave over time if they're sitting out. So I'm going to get this guy printed. I'll show you guys the test print once we're done. Alright, first test print. I think we actually look good. Usually it doesn't work the first time, but this looks decent. These eyebrows right here, these are the part that I was actually worried about, and they came out perfectly fine. So this has a lot of fine details, so I just want to make sure I'm taking my time to check everything over and make sure that it all properly got washed out of the screen and is properly getting applied to the t-shirt. This is a weird design, so you gotta really look closely, but actually everything looks really good. I think we're good to go ahead and count out 30 sheets. That's how much the customer ordered. We will of course give them a couple extra sheets just for dialing in their heat press, things like that, but I'm going to count those out, grab Michaela, and we'll get going on this job. But there we go, a screen print transfer. That is not complete, however. We still have to get the transfer actually cured. So we have our powdering tent where we keep all of our powder, and it kind of just keeps it in this area because you don't want to be breathing in this powder. I got to turn on the ventilation. We have a ventilation system in here too that like sucks out all of the air so that it kind of sucks up any powder, and again, we're not breathing that stuff in. So we got the sheet powdered. It's all good to go. I think I am still waiting on the dryer to come right up to temperature, but we're pretty close. I'll go ahead and throw this in there and then grab my IR temperature gun and see what the temperature is on these transfers. I don't think you can see my face, but hopefully you can. And the transfer is coming out. We were not up to temperature yet on the dryer, so I'm going to have to rerun this through once we actually get up to temperature. So for right now though, this transfer would be good if it was properly cured, but I just got to make some adjustments, give the dryer a little bit longer time to heat up, and then we'll be all good. But there you go guys, a printed, finished screen print transfer made with plastisol ink. Before, you saw us burning all of the screen. We started with just the transparency, and now we're working with this, so not too bad. Let's go ahead and count up the sheets, finish this order up. All right, guys. Time right now is 2:13. Managed to get all of the screen printing orders all finished up, all cut. So for this one, we got these guys cut, and this one we also got it cut. There was 4 designs on that sheet, so we got all of them all cut up. Finished up that blue one too, which we started on. So yeah, just got to get these guys packaged up, and then I'm gonna have to still do some computer work for today, but hopefully that was helpful for those of you guys who are interested in learning more about how to actually make a screen print transfer. Hopefully throughout this video, through the steps that I took you on, you guys can, if you are interested, make your own screen print transfers. And yeah, if you guys have any questions at all throughout any of the things that you saw in this video, anything that I might not have covered that I missed, or anything that you just really want clarification on, the comment section is the place to do that. I respond to all of the questions, all of the comments, all the questions, concerns, whatever it is that come in on my page still. So if you guys have any of those sorts, please drop them down below and I will respond to them. But again, if this video has been helpful to you and you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Please hit the subscribe button down below. Give the video a like. And yeah, I got to get those orders packaged up. It's still a bunch more computer work to do today. So with that, guys, I'll leave you here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.